So I was really looking for a way to generate serializable, immutable objects for JSON, for Dart, and a Flutter app, blah, blah, blah. And it turned out I ran across this really interesting tool that lets me see the complexity, not really the complexity, but how different languages handle different different pieces, right? And so what we're talking about is creating a value object that can be mapped to JSON, and if possible, it's immutable, and we do validating, and we declare whether we can have nulls or whether, you know, parameters can be empty or not, and those kinds of things. It's really cool. I'm just going to show a couple real quick examples. So this is on quicktype.io, and really it's all about JSON serialization and deserialization in the language of your choice, using a JSON model or a JSON schema or a JSON object, right? And so in this case, all we've got, actually, you know what? I'm going to do I like the schema one. So this is latitude and longitude for coordinates, right? And so I'm going to move this off screen so that we can make this a little bigger. So remember, it's latitude and longitude coordinates. Let's see. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so what I found interesting, so this thing actually does like 20 different languages. I'm just going to go through like 2 or 3 languages real quick and give you an idea of the complexity of this, and then you can come out and play with it. I feel like it's a great training aid, assuming they're right, and it just shows you how different languages work, right? And so again, this is QuickType, app.quicktype.io, and I'm sure they have other issues. Let me bring the options, but I think it's cool. Okay, so I'm going to do C# real quick. I've done some C# code. Now I'm hoping never to do, no, it's actually not too bad. So in this case, I've got a coordinate with longitude and latitude, and they are, and you can see that they are optional, right? Like, so they're not required here. At least I think that's what that is. Man, I was working in Dart. Hoped I got that one right. And then, so this is just the types, right? And now I can say, you know what? I want the attributes. And so now we can see, right, that we actually ended up with a property. Now, before they were, what were they before? They were just types, right? So now they're a property. And we talk about here, if we're doing JSON serialization, how we're going to handle them, right? And so if it's empty, we're going to ignore it. I just think that's really cool. And then, so we went from types to attributes, right? And we can do null handling on here. And does this one work? Yeah. And so you can also see that we can now declare these as required, right? So we change this coordinate object with latitude and longitude from properties to attributes, and then we declared that they can't be empty. I just think I know that's dumb, but man, it's kind of cool. But then I can say that I actually want the whole thing here. And now if we scroll down, we can see that this thing, remember, this site's all about doing JSON, right? So what do we need to do? We need to be able to go from a string into this model object, which is a coordinate, or we need to be able to go from this coordinate to a string. And we also, a lot of times, end up working you know, with maps in some of these cases. So in this case, what have we got? We've got a converter to do the serialization, and then we've got a to JSON and a from JSON for strings. Different ones of these for different languages will actually also support things like nested sets of maps. Oh, one other thing I thought was interesting in here, this one I don't think will show it. Let me see real quick. Yeah, let me go back to the JSON. Nope, none of these. I'm sorry, wrong ones. So that's what happens when you do demos live. So this one will actually, I was looking at another one of these before. It'll switch between list and array. Anyway, I just thought this was kind of cool. Virtual properties. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, you can do virtual properties instead. There tend to be other things you can do too, like you can pick the density and what kind of type you want it to be for numbers and all that kind of stuff. So that's cool. I'm just going to show you a couple other languages. I did this Dart one in another video. So in this case, I'm going to do types only, right? And I'm going to turn everything off. And so in this case, basically what I've got, latitude and longitude, but I really would like to be able to serialize this, but I also want it to be immutable. That's just me, if it supports it, and some of these do and some don't. So I'm going to make all the properties required because a coordinate needed it. We did that in the C# version. And then we can make properties be final, which makes this an immutable object. It can't be changed once it's been created anytime an attribute. A lot of languages support that. And then we're going to do the JSON serialization. And so you can see here, we've got string serialization and map serialization here, right? And so bidirectional to strings and bidirectional to nested sets of maps. I just think that's really cool. And then you can do that with other languages. I found some of these, the Java version, of course, let me think. Or you can use Lombok, which is cool anyway. So this kind of looks a lot like the C# one. You can see they do a lot of other things. They go in and do date formatting, and they brought in a bunch of things that we don't really need for this particular one, because this particular latitude and longitude only have doubles. So I might not bring all these in, but this was brought in. Here you can see the JSON converters they did, and they have a reader and a writer, and you can do all that kind of stuff, right? And then the other languages in here, the Python one I thought was kind of interesting. So, this one tends to be, let me shrink it down just a little. So I did this one I like mine as classes. And so in this case, it did was the class part of this, but then you can get a whole bunch of functions for different things. Some of these, they tended to do a lot of boilerplate in here for different data types, but you can see for coordinates, you can see that how they do the dictionary work. And so I actually really like this because I feel like it may not always be the best example, but it's an example, like how did I do this in TypeScript? Man, that one tends to be long, but it's because it's got the converters in it too. So you've got two coordinate to JSON and JSON to coordinate here. These are really the converters around this. And that's what that looks like. So I think this is really cool if you want to get an idea how model objects work, and kind of like maybe some cases how mutable objects work and how serialization would happen in your language. Go to this site. I'm not saying you should copy everything exactly or put your super secret data there, but it's pretty cool. You can always do a GitHub fork. We can say open on GitHub. And you can go out and pull this down to your site. Have a great day.